I kept glancing over to my body, wondering why that was. There was didn't look like there was any life in it. It looked like it was just, well, it was dead. That's the best thing I could say. There came a time when the person next to me said that it was time to go. We left and went to the most beautiful place you can imagine. I to describe it would just not be. I couldn't do it justice because it was that beautiful. I was standing in a field, and this field in front of me and to my right was grass. It was tall grass up to about my waist. And this grass was not the usual grass you see. It was long strands of grass. And it was green on the bottom, but had gold tips on the top. And one thing I noticed was the grass was all flowing towards me. Now there was no wind, so it was like each individual strand had its own soul and provided its own energy. It was very unique, and I never experienced that before. To my left was wildflowers, and wildflowers were all different colors. But then, again, the thing that I noticed was every flower was facing towards me. Every leaf on that plant was facing towards me. And there again, I felt that love and that energy that came from those flowers. And I'm talking flowers of all different colors. You know, we see 6-color wheel here, where I saw 10. And I saw colors I can't even describe. They were so beautiful. Now, just to the left of the flowers was tall trees. Up at the top of the tree were leaves, and the most brilliant colored leaves you can imagine. Then I looked around at my surroundings and noticed it was more of a panoramic type view. I mean, I could see a long ways to my left, I could see a long ways to my right. But the escort that I had was still standing beside me. Well, through my mind, he told me to not look back. Don't look back. And it was so clear that I was not allowed to look back. And I knew that I wasn't going back because of what he said. Now, in front of me, there were 3 different shapes of clouds. And it was like one big one in the middle and 2 smaller ones on the side. But on the outsides of the clouds was the most brilliant blue sky I'd ever seen. Now, again, there was no wind. You know, there was nothing blowing, but it was like everything was flowing. And like I mentioned before, the grass and the flowers were all flowing towards me. Well, after having a chance to see my surroundings, I noticed that the person beside me was gone. And been thinking about it over the last 40 years. When you think about being alone, you begin to have anxiety. You know, why am I alone now? Yeah, but I didn't feel that at all. It was like it was love coming to me. It was so peaceful that I didn't want to leave because it was something I'd never felt before. And then something happened that was something that I wasn't very proud of in a lot of ways. I had a review of my life. And I've heard this story from a lot of other people that they've had life reviews. And I totally understand what they went through. Because you don't just see it on a video screen. You don't just see it in your head. What you do is you live it. You live every emotion that happened from the day that you were born until I was 28 years old. I started off by seeing myself being on my mother's stomach, now being given life, to come into this world. And I'll never forget seeing how I hurt people. When you're going after money and you're going after status in life, you almost do everything you can to get ahead. I played professional basketball over in Europe, and you always wanted to be just a little bit better than that other person, because if sometimes that's all you needed to get to the next level. And so I knew how to do that very well, and it transferred into my everyday life in the business world. But what I didn't realize is, until I had this life review, is how the other person felt when I did something maybe unethically to get better than him or her. In a life review, you would think you'd feel guilty. You'd feel like you were being stepped on or stabbed at or disciplined. It was not like that at all. For me, it was more of a learning experience. I had to learn how to treat people better. The other thing I noticed was I didn't see any of my riches around me. I didn't see any of those motorhomes or boats or toys or all my cars. I didn't see any of them. The only thing I saw was how I treated people. And this has probably been one of the biggest learning experiences of my life, is to try to understand how people feel about what I'm saying to them, and to listen, because every person's journey is totally different. After I reviewed my life, I went, okay, I did it. I didn't have anybody to argue with. There was nobody to explain why I did what I did. I did it, and I accepted it. Well, after standing there for a few minutes and contemplating what had happened, I realized that everything that was done in that life review was done with love. And I realized that, I could have been chastised. Literally somebody could have walked up and smacked me or put me inside of a cage or whatever. That's what the actions that I was doing. But it wasn't done that way. It was almost like somebody was reaching out to me to teach me how I should have been living my life. And I accepted it. I accepted full accountability. Everything was done in black and white, right or wrong. And there was no fence in the middle. There was no gray matter at all. It was done as if this is the way you probably should have done it. Well, after that happened, I was standing there in the field, and a voice came from out of the cloud and said, start walking forward. And I started walking. Now, one thing I noticed was there were rays that were coming out from behind the clouds. And those rays were coming towards me as if to pull me towards the cloud. But on the other hand, I noticed that the flowers and the grass were following me as if to push me towards the cloud. It was the most unusual feeling. It was energy that I had never felt before. I wasn't floating towards the cloud. I was walking towards it. But it was as if they were pushing me and the rays were pulling me, which I don't know if you've ever had somebody embrace you and you realize that the feeling that you get when somebody puts their arms around you, and it's an energy you don't normally feel. In our home where I was growing up, nobody ever told you, they loved you. I come from a broken family, and a lot of the time I lived on the streets, and so I never experienced that kind of love before in my life. But it felt good. I mean, it felt so good that I would have taken everything that it would have been given to me. It felt that good. Well, I walked up to that cloud, and an arm came through that cloud. Not a person, just an arm, and it was from the upper part of his arm all the way down. And I had an opportunity to study that arm because it was a strong arm. His upper forearm was strong. Now I'm 6'3", I weigh 270, and so I'm a pretty good sized person. But his arms were bigger than mine. And I remember looking at his hand, and his hand, the way he had it was fingers together, thumb extended. It was the most beautiful thing that I'd ever seen. It wasn't put his hand up. It was like he was just reaching for my hand. The other thing I noticed was I didn't see color in that hand or that arm, which really, in our where we live, we see black, we see white, we see brown, we see red, we see, and people, and the color of people's hands and arms that they see. But I did not see any color. It was the most beautiful, pure color that I could ever describe because it was that pure. I got within inches of taking that hand to go into that cloud, and I felt energy through those fingers that I had never felt before. I mean, I was this close to grabbing that hand, and I knew that if I grabbed that hand, I'd never be back. And the next thing I knew was the arm pulled back, and I tried to grab for it again, second time. And then a voice came through the clouds into my mind. It said, "It's not yet your time. You have more things yet to do."